There is a quiet, almost unnoticeable moment when a space begins to feel different. Nothing dramatic has changed, no walls have moved, no furniture replaced, and yet the atmosphere softens. The air feels lighter, the light lingers longer, and every surface begins to glow with a subtle warmth. This is the essence of spring entering a modern interior. It is not a transformation built on excess, but one rooted in refinement, in restraint, and in a deeper awareness of how a home should feel. Modern interiors are already grounded in clarity, clean lines, open layouts, intentional choices, but in spring, they begin to breathe in a new way. They become more than structured spaces, they become environments that respond to light, to texture, to the gentle presence of nature. It is in this season that minimalism finds warmth, and simplicity becomes expressive. The beauty of spring interiors lies not in adding more, but in revealing what was always there. It is about allowing light to travel freely, letting textures soften the edges, and creating a flow so seamless that every corner feels connected. This is where a home stops feeling like a composition and starts feeling like an experience, calm, effortless, and quietly alive. Light as a living element. Light is no longer just a functional necessity, it becomes the defining feature of the entire space. It moves slowly, intentionally, shifting from one surface to another, revealing layers that often go unnoticed. In the early hours, it arrives gently, brushing against soft fabrics and pale surfaces, creating a calm and quiet beginning. As the day unfolds, it strengthens, illuminating textures, deepening shadows, and adding dimension to even the simplest details. In a modern interior, where openness is key, light is given the freedom to travel. It is not blocked or confined, it flows uninterrupted, connecting different areas into one continuous experience. Sheer materials filter its intensity, transforming harsh brightness into a soft, diffused glow. This diffusion creates a sense of calm, where nothing feels overwhelming, and everything feels balanced. Reflections begin to play a role, on glass, on polished surfaces, on subtle metallic accents. These reflections are never overpowering, they are delicate, almost fleeting, adding a layer of quiet sophistication. The space begins to feel dynamic, not through movement of objects, but through the ever-changing quality of light itself. And in this interplay, the home feels alive. Not loud, not dramatic, but responsive, shifting with the time of day, evolving with the light, offering a different experience in every moment. The language of texture. If light defines the mood, texture defines the feeling. Spring interiors rely on a careful balance of materials that invite both visual and physical comfort. There is a noticeable shift away from anything heavy or overly structured, replaced instead by softness, fluidity, and natural imperfection. Fabrics become lighter, more breathable. They fall effortlessly, creating gentle movement within the space. Nothing feels rigid. Every element carries a sense of ease, as though it naturally belongs. This softness does not diminish the modern aesthetic, it enhances it, adding warmth to its clean and minimal foundation. Natural materials begin to take center stage, not as bold statements, but as subtle anchors. The quiet presence of wood, with its organic grain, introduces warmth without disrupting the neutrality of the space. Stone surfaces add a sense of calm permanence, while matte finishes absorb light in a way that feels grounded and serene. Even the smallest details contribute to this layered experience. The curve of a ceramic piece, the weave of a textile, the smoothness of a surface, each element adds depth without demanding attention. Together, they create an environment that feels tactile, inviting, and deeply human. Color that whispers. Color in a modern spring interior does not shout, it whispers. It exists in harmony with light and texture, enhancing rather than dominating the space. The foundation remains neutral, soft whites that reflect light beautifully, warm beiges that add subtle depth, and gentle grays that ground the overall composition. Within this neutral base, hints of seasonal color begin to emerge. They appear softly, almost unexpectedly, like the first signs of spring outdoors. A muted green that mirrors new leaves, a delicate blush that echoes early blooms, a pale yellow that captures the warmth of sunlight. These tones are never overwhelming, they are carefully placed, thoughtfully integrated. The restraint in color creates a sense of calm continuity. Nothing feels out of place, nothing disrupts the balance. Instead, the palette works as a whole, allowing the space to feel cohesive and intentional. This approach to color reflects a deeper understanding of modern design, not as something static, but as something that evolves gently with the seasons, adapting without losing its core identity. The presence of nature. Nature enters the space quietly, without force, without excess. It is not about filling every corner, but about choosing moments where life can exist naturally within the design. A single branch, a simple arrangement, or a touch of greenery becomes enough to shift the entire atmosphere. What makes this presence powerful is its authenticity. It is not staged to perfection, it is allowed to feel real. Leaves may bend, light may pass through them unevenly, shadows may shift unpredictably, and in this imperfection, the space gains character. The connection to the outdoors becomes more than visual. It is felt in the freshness of the environment, in the way materials echo natural elements, in the openness that invites light and air to move freely. The home begins to mirror the calm rhythm of nature itself. Even in its simplicity, this integration brings a sense of renewal. It reminds the space to remain alive, to remain connected, to remain in harmony with the changing season. Flow, balance, and continuity. What truly defines a modern spring interior is not any single feature, but the way everything comes together. There are no abrupt transitions, no visual interruptions. Instead, the space unfolds gradually, each element leading naturally into the next. This sense of flow creates an environment that feels effortless. The eye moves freely, guided by light, by texture, by subtle shifts in tone. Nothing feels forced. Everything exists in quiet balance. This balance is where true sophistication lies. It is not in excess or decoration, but in the careful consideration of how each element interacts with the others. It is in the decision to leave space, to allow breathing room, to let the design speak through simplicity. In this continuity, the home becomes more than a collection of objects. It becomes a cohesive experience, one that feels calm, intentional, and deeply comforting. Stillness, comfort, and modern living. Beyond aesthetics, a modern spring interior creates a feeling of stillness. It encourages a slower pace, a more mindful way of living. The softness of the environment invites you to pause, to notice, to experience the space fully. Comfort is not defined by excess, but by intention. Every element serves a purpose, not just functionally, but emotionally. The space feels welcoming, not because it is filled, but because it is balanced. This is where modern design reaches its full potential, when it moves beyond visual appeal and becomes something that enhances everyday life. A space that feels calm in the morning, refreshing in the afternoon, and peaceful in the evening. Spring does not change the structure of the home, it changes the way it is experienced. In the end, modern spring interiors are not about decoration. They are about transformation through subtlety. Through light that softens, textures that invite, colors that calm, and a presence of nature that reconnects the space to something greater. It is a reminder that beauty does not need to be loud to be meaningful. That simplicity, when approached with intention, can create something deeply powerful. A home that feels open yet warm, minimal yet alive, structured yet soft. And as the light continues to shift, as the textures continue to settle, and as the space continues to breathe, what remains is not just a well-designed interior, but a feeling, a quiet, enduring sense of calm that defines what it truly means to live with the season. A modern home in spring is not just seen. It is felt.